Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday, and I'm really excited for this call today. We have a gentleman that's going to speak to us today that I met in 2008, and it's such an inspiration to me. I was like in one of the lowest points in my life, and he said, you need to get up and dream again, and I'm so glad that I've had him in my life. He's absolutely inspired me. He is the epitome of the American dream, came all the way from Albania to pursue the American dream and has done it. And, very, very successful and well-known and businessman. So I am going to introduce my good friend, Andi Duli.
Hey, Patty, good morning. Good to be on the call. Everybody, good morning. Great to hear everybody's voice this morning, and excited to share a few words. Patty asked me last night if I could share a few words this morning, and I was thinking, as I was having a cup of coffee in my office this morning, and I'm thinking, what would be appropriate, and something that I've sensed for quite some time is that there is a spirit of discouragement. There is a spirit of sadness all around us. People are anxious. We've got inflation. There is political unrest, macroeconomics. It's an election year, division, wars. There's a lot of anger out there, and all of us know that anger is nothing more than a mask of fear. But all that to say is we are in a winter, and the winter is upon us. It has been upon us for quite some time. I read a book many years ago, a tiny book, 70, 80-page book, called The Seasons of Life. The Seasons of Life by Jim Rohn, and it was really very impactful for me at the time. When I read that book, I was in the middle of a huge financial winter in my life, and I was very discouraged, and I was in despair, even though I'm a very mentally strong, mind, kind of guy, mentally tough. That winter, man, and the story I kept, because it's not necessarily what's happening to you, it's what you believe is happening, it's what you say that's happening, and I was down in my knees, and that little tiny book really helped me understand that what's happened or what's happening now, it has happened for many decades throughout history, and basically after good times, you have challenging times. And some challenging times last long, quite some time, and some don't last long. But after bad times, you have good times again. And we were in a harvest time, in great times for many years. Economy was growing, business was expanding. We all had 0% interest rates. You could get a loan for anything. I was applying for, loans, buying different properties without them even really looking deeply into my financials. The economy was booming, and during this time, the sun is high, the birds are chirping, sky is blue, and the first time I experienced that, I did not remind myself that, there's a winter coming. But the second time I got prepared. So now during the winter, things don't work the same. You plant the seed, it's harder to grow it. And, but again, looking back, this has happened throughout history. So let's say we're in this winter now, and it's like we're unprepared, it's raining, we don't have an umbrella. And what are some thoughts that maybe we should be mindful of? Number one, they don't last forever. No storm lasts forever. No storm, continues for too long, or every storm runs out of rain, rather. So during the winter, what we should be mindful of is we should retool ourselves. We should focus on things that we can control, not things that that are out of our control. And of course, all of us understand that it's all in the 6th inch between our ears. From the neck down, every human being is the same. But from the neck up, in how we think, in our mindset, how we see the world, what we're putting in our mind, is what makes the biggest difference in how we respond in our decision making, because how we see the world is through this lens of our beliefs and psychology and attitude. So poor attitude and bad psychology, a poor mindset, I mean, we're stuck. So during a winter, this is a time to actually get better. This is a time to grow yourself. I mean, books, podcasts, audibles. Sometimes I will read a book and listen to it on audible as well. So the first 10, 15 minutes as I wake up, as I have a cup of coffee, or why not, while I'm getting dressed and, water and all that, I have my audible on of a good book that I'm reading. So let's say if from this point forward, we decide to do a book a week, which is, 20 minutes a day. A book a week in a decade, if you do the math, that's about 500 to 600 books minimum. Now, if we haven't done that the past 10 years, we are 600 books behind. And, a Chinese proverb, it says that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. But however, the second best time is now. And so during the winter, this is when we are mindful of our mindset, psychology, because, let's face it, winter will freeze some people. Some will get frozen to death. Some people go skiing and skateboarding and, have fun. And our attitude and how we see and what we decide to do really makes a big difference. The winter, like COVID for me was a blessing because I had been driving and building for many, many, many years. And I had my babies, I had my twins during COVID. And because they were both, premature and hospitals and NICU, we could not have babysitters. So that winter for me was like quality time, got to raise the kids. So all I'm trying to say is, for some, what happens to us is really how we see it. But the most important thing is if we give up here, we're left behind. If we give up here, we are wiped out, because what we do now either will prepare us for the spring, which, spring means opportunity, or, when spring comes, we're discouraged, we're in our knees, and so right now it's time to get your mind strong. Right now is your time to get your body healthy and lose weight and get fit. In my opinion, it's hard to face a challenge head on if our body is weak, if you don't feel great, if your energy is high, if your body is strong. Gosh, that plays a huge role in your psychology. It's hard to overcome mental and psychological challenges if you don't feel good. And I think some people don't do well simply because they don't feel well. So handling the winter right is basically getting your mind and your body strong. And then as you do that, when the opportunity comes and when the springtime comes, and I promise you, spring comes after every winter. And when that comes, there's excitement in the air and birds are chirping and the sun is out, and you are better prepared to actually take advantage of it. So 3-4 things that I would recommend to do during this time is basically get clear about what you want. We all face difficult times. Every human being goes through winters, but I think it's easy to deal with the challenges of today. It's easy to face our challenge of today if we know we have a better tomorrow, if we know there is a compelling tomorrow. So number one thing I would recommend is, get clear about what you want and why you want it. So, if you get a piece of paper this morning, write down 10 things that you would love to have, 10 things that could make a big difference in your life. What do you want to have? Where do you want to go? What would you like to, how would you want your business to look like? If you could have 10 things that would make life more fun the next 5 to 10 years, what would those things be? And so take the time to design the next 5 to 10 years. And number 2 is, face the truth. how big of a gap is where you are today versus, what you truly want to have and where you want to be. I have friends that are, in self-denial. Basically, they think that if I'm just positive, things are great, and they don't see the gap. If you don't see the gap, there is no action taking. So face the truth. How big of a gap? Where are you today? Where do you want to be? If you don't see the gap, you're disillusioned. Number 3 is, what's holding us back? What gets in the way? What's been the issue in the past? And the issue is normally fear. Fear of success, fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of ridicule. Just fear. It's a psychological. It's basically a limiting belief. So between a fear or a limiting belief, or maybe a story. In 2011. And by this time, I had experienced success in the past. But 2011, I fell, flat on my face. And our company, introduced, changed product lines. And here I am. I had this story that, I can't build a business with consumable products because I was used to services. And that story controlled my attitude, my actions, my behavior. And being mindful of the story, was huge. So sometimes it's a story, sometimes it's an attitude, an emotion, could be anger, could be unforgiveness, could be, sometimes we're just overwhelmed. So, recognize what's holding you back. And number 4 is put a massive action plan together. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to give you some progress, because progress will inspire you to keep moving. So put an action plan together. Number 5 is, just do the work. Do the work. If it's a limiting belief, slay the limiting belief, slay the anger, let go, of some things, forgive some people, let go of the past, and just being mindful of the limiting belief, be mindful that it's simply something that we have been saying for so long, and it's not the truth. And we see our challenges in life through our beliefs, and those beliefs, right or wrong, they are controlling our behavior. And as you do the work, be mindful of habits. Everything is habitual. If you get into the habit of exercising daily, you don't even think about it anymore. If you get it, like for instance, every time I tie my shoes, I don't think about, how am I going to do it? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? You just do it. So if you do something right now, most of our behavior is simply habitual. Now, it's easy to be stuck in the bad routines, in the bad habits. But if you do the right thing, if you push yourself the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks to just have some progress, and the more you do that, the more it becomes habitual, and then without even thinking, you just need some motivation to get started, but habits is what gets you there. But so anyway, so just a few thoughts or food for thoughts on what we can do during this interesting times. But Patty, I appreciate you having me on the call this morning. I'd love to pass it back to you for any closing comments.
Well, I just appreciate you being here so much, and I'm sure everybody else does. And I was just, kind of thinking at the beginning, it's like it is all about mindset. And my grandma, she lived to be 106 years old, and I just kind of go back to her years ago, like when I was in my 20s. It was just seemed like a bad time. And if you watch the news, like Andi started with, it can be really depressing sometimes, and it can kind of zap your hope. And I remember I went to my grandma, and she's like, honey, she's like, the world's been like this since I was a little girl. And she goes, the best thing you can do is live life to your fullest, live every day. And she was excited every day to wake up and, and have a new day, clear up until the very end of our life. And I think, when we have hope and belief, it makes all the difference in the world. And I think, Andi, you're on target, to about write down what it is you want and to work, to work hard. And, there's some theories, 7 years of feast, 7 years of famine, but you got to prepare. And if you're preparing, right now and giving your best every day, you'll you'll just be surprised at what will happen in your life. So great call, Andi. I appreciate you, and we'll open up the lines to say goodbye to everybody.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you
Have
so
a good
much.
day, everybody. Much love to
Thank
everyone.
you, everybody. We appreciate it.